What happens when a dead man leaves behind 14 notebooks, and the only thing they have to say leads you to the last known locations of people who were never found? Room 109 of the Budget Inn on East Amarillo Boulevard is not remarkable. It is a ground floor unit with a window that faces the parking lot, a bed with a comforter the color of old rust, and a bathroom door that never quite latched properly. There is nothing about this room that would distinguish it from any of the other rooms in any of the other budget motels that line the veins of Interstate 40 through the Texas Panhandle. Nothing, except that for 15 consecutive years, a man no one could identify walked through its door on the same date, carrying the same leather bag, and asked for this room specifically. Always this room. Always March 9th. Always paying in cash. And always using a name that belonged to no living person. The staff at the Budget Inn changed frequently. Turnover at that kind of establishment is expected. But even across years of rotating clerks, a quiet oral tradition developed. The regulars on staff knew about the man in 109. They called him the March Guest. He was described consistently, late 40s to early 60s, medium build, graying hair kept short, wire-rimmed glasses, and a demeanor that one clerk described as polite in a way that made you feel like he was reading from a script. He never made small talk. He never asked about restaurants, or directions, or the weather. He signed a name, took a key, and disappeared into room 109. He would stay for exactly one night. By morning, the room would be empty, the key left on the dresser, the bed made, not by housekeeping, but by him. The sheets pulled tight with almost institutional precision. This continued from 1998 to 2012. 14 visits. 14 names. 14 nights in the same room, on the same date, with no explanation and no trail. Then came 2013. On March 10th, housekeeping knocked on the door of room 109 at approximately 11:15 in the morning. Checkout had been at 11. There was no answer. When the door was opened, the man was found sitting upright in the room's only chair, facing the window, with the curtains drawn. He was dead. His eyes were open. There was no sign of struggle, no sign of forced entry, no visible trauma. On the bed behind him, arranged in 2 neat rows of 7, were 14 leather-bound journals. Beside them sat a single brass key that did not fit any lock in the motel. A toxicology report would later indicate no drugs, no alcohol, no poison. The coroner's official cause of death was listed as cardiac arrest, but an attending physician noted privately that the man's expression, and this is a direct observation from the file, appeared anticipatory, as if he had been waiting for something he expected to arrive. His fingerprints matched no record in AFIS. His face matched no missing persons report, no driver's license photo, no passport on file anywhere in the United States or in Interpol's database. He carried no wallet, no phone, no identification of any kind. The 14 names he had used to check in over the years, and this was confirmed through the motel's spotty but partially preserved registration records, were each traced to real individuals. But every single one of those individuals had one thing in common. They had all died before the year 1998. He had been checking in under the names of dead people. Let me say that again, because I need you to understand the precision of what this man was doing. Each year, he selected the name of a different deceased person, not famous, not notorious, just ordinary people who had passed away, and used that name to sign a motel ledger. 14 years. 14 dead names. No repeats. And then there were the journals. All 14 were identical in make, leather-bound, unlined, roughly 200 pages each. The leather was hand-stitched. No manufacturer's mark, no brand, no ISBN. They appeared to be handmade. Every page of every journal was filled with writing, margin to margin, in a dense and meticulous hand. But the text was not in English. It was not in any recognized language. It was a cipher, a substitution system that mixed invented symbols with fragments of Latin, numerical clusters, and what linguists would later identify as a modified version of the Deseret alphabet, a phonetic writing system developed in the 19th century by the University of Deseret under Brigham Young. It was never widely adopted. It is, for all practical purposes, a dead script. And this man had woven it into a code so layered that, as of the most recent reporting, only an estimated 40% of the journal's contents have been decoded. But that 40% was more than enough to change everything. Embedded within the decoded portions of the text were geographic coordinates. Latitude and longitude, precise to 6 decimal places. Analysts initially assumed these were random or fictional, perhaps the product of a delusional mind constructing an elaborate private mythology. But when the first set of coordinates was checked against a map, it corresponded to a location in rural New Mexico, specifically, a stretch of land near a dry creek bed outside the town of Tucumcari. In 2004, a woman named Sandra Elaine Marsh disappeared from Tucumcari after leaving a bar on the night of February 27. Her car was found abandoned on the shoulder of State Road 104. She has never been found. The coordinates in the journal point to a location less than 3 miles from where her vehicle was recovered. A coincidence? Perhaps. Except the second set of coordinates corresponds to a site outside Dalhart, Texas, where a 19-year-old college student named Ruben Carrillo vanished during a solo camping trip in 2001. The third set corresponds to a field near Sayre, Oklahoma, where a truck driver named Gene Harwell was last seen at a fuel stop in 1999 before disappearing without a trace. The fourth, fifth, and sixth sets point to locations in Kansas, Colorado, and the Texas Panhandle, each one within a short radius of a documented missing persons case that has never been solved. 5 things about the decoded coordinates that no one has been able to explain. 1. Every case the coordinates correspond to occurred along the Interstate 40 corridor or within 50 miles of it. 2. The dates of the disappearances, when arranged in the order the journals were numbered, are in perfect chronological sequence, starting in 1997 and ending in 2011. 3. None of these cases were ever publicly linked to one another. They span multiple states, multiple jurisdictions, and multiple victim profiles. There was no reason for anyone to connect them. Until the journals. 4. The coordinates do not point to the locations where the victims were last seen. They point to nearby but distinct locations, places that have never been searched. 5. In the margins of 3 separate journals, the same phrase appears in decoded English, repeated like a refrain. It reads, "I was not the hand, but I was the witness." That phrase has haunted every investigator who has touched this case. I was not the hand, but I was the witness. What does that mean? Was this man confessing to presence? Was he claiming to have observed these disappearances without participating in them? Was he documenting the acts of someone else, a partner, a predator, a pattern he had identified and tracked across years and state lines? Or is this the self-mythologizing language of a perpetrator constructing a narrative of detachment, a psychological buffer between himself and acts he could not face directly? Behavioral analysts who reviewed the decoded portions offered 3 competing profiles. The first, the man was a perpetrator who documented his crimes in cipher as a form of psychological ritual, returning to room 109 each year on an anniversary date meaningful to him. The second, the man was a self-appointed investigator, possibly a retired law enforcement officer or someone with a personal connection to one of the victims, who had independently linked the disappearances and was conducting his own off-the-books investigation. The third, and the most unsettling, the man was a compulsive witness, someone who had been present at or near the scene of each disappearance, not as an actor, but as an observer. Someone who watched. Someone who returned to the same room each year to record what he had seen, in a language designed to ensure that no one would read it until he was gone. Each profile raises its own set of impossible questions. If he was the killer, why encode the locations of the victims' remains and leave the journals to be found? Why not destroy them? If he was an investigator, why not contact law enforcement? Why the cipher, the dead names, the obsessive ritual? And if he was a witness, if he truly stood in the dark and watched people disappear, then the question becomes something far worse. Why didn't he stop it? And who was he watching? The brass key found beside the journals has never been matched to any lock. It is old. Metallurgical analysis dated its manufacture to the mid-20th century. It is not a motel key. It is not a house key. Its bit pattern is consistent with a safe deposit box or a small lockbox, but no corresponding box has been located. Some investigators believe the key is symbolic. Others believe it opens something that has not yet been found, something that may contain the remaining 60% of the cipher's meaning. As of today, no excavation has been conducted at any of the coordinates identified in the journals. Jurisdictional complications, insufficient probable cause, and the sheer strangeness of the case have stalled any ground-penetrating radar surveys or formal search warrants. The journals themselves are held in evidence storage in Potter County, Texas. The man's body was cremated after 18 months in the county morgue with no one to claim it. He was buried under a marker that reads only "Unidentified Male, 2013." But the coordinates remain. Written in a dead alphabet, in a dead man's hand, pointing to the places where the missing may still be lying in the earth, waiting, in silence, for someone to come looking. 14 years. 14 journals. 14 names borrowed from the dead. And a phrase that reads like a confession and a prayer at the same time: I was not the hand, but I was the witness. There is one final detail that I have held until now because it is the one I cannot stop thinking about. Among the decoded fragments of the 14th journal, the last one, the one that corresponds to the year 2012, the year before his death, there is a single line that does not contain coordinates or the repeated refrain. It contains a date. March 9, 2013. The day he checked in for the last time. He knew. Whatever he was, whoever he was, he knew it was the end. He sat in that chair, facing the window, with the curtains drawn against the morning light, and he waited for whatever was coming. And when it arrived, he did not look away. The Budget Inn on East Amarillo Boulevard is still standing. Room 109 is still available for nightly rental. And every year, on March 9th, the staff checks the reservation log. Just in case. What do you think was really happening in room 109? Was this man a killer hiding his secrets in plain sight? A vigilante who tracked a predator he could never catch? Or something else entirely, a witness to horrors he chose to record but never stop? Leave your theory below. Because 14 journals are sitting in an evidence locker in Potter County, and 60% of them are still unread. Someone, somewhere, knows what the rest of those pages say.